Hi, this is Elena Lee with Gold Pineapple Homes of Chris Allen Realty, and I wanted to welcome you to Golden Tips with Gold Pineapple Homes. So today we are going to be talking about closing costs, and I'm really excited about this because this is one of the biggest questions that I get as a local realtor from both buyers and sellers. Both buyers and sellers have closing costs, and some of them are split in half, some of them are strictly to the buyer, some are strictly to the seller. So I wanted to do a quick breakdown to help ease everyone's mind and give you guys some tips on what those closing costs could be. So that way, when you go into your first purchase or your first home sale or even your 7th or 8th, you are prepared on what is going to happen at the closing table. So as a buyer, saving for a down payment is usually a given. You're prepared to put a percentage down on a home. A lot of people think that that percentage is 20%. And depending on the type of loan that you've been qualified for, which you would discuss with your lender, you could be paying as little as 3%. It really just depends. And if you're using a VA loan, thank you for your service, veterans, then you are doing as little as 0% because you deserve it. I mean, come on. So you're looking at little to no down payment using a VA or an FHA loan. Some conventional loans are as small as 3%, and that's really helpful to keep some money in your pocket that you could provide for new furniture or upgrades or repairs to a property. So all of those things come into play, and a lot of people are so relieved to hear, nope, you don't have to put 20% down, because 20% is a huge chunk, right? That's a scary amount of money to hand over. In addition to that down payment amount, a lot of, especially first-time home buyers, are a little thrown off to find out that not only do they have a down payment, but they also have closing costs. Sellers have closing costs as well, and a lot of times buyers assume that their down payment amount includes their closing costs, which is not true. So your closing costs for a buyer are typically 2 to 4% in addition to your down payment. So if you're using a 3.5% FHA loan and you're putting 3.5% down, and when I'm using these percentages, I'm stating percentages of the purchase price. So if you're looking at a $500,000 property, then you are looking at 3.5% of $500,000. And then in addition to that, my suggestion usually is 2 to 4% to be on the safe side for your closing costs. So your closing costs as a buyer could be anything along the lines of including your down payment, but your settlement fees from the title company, which is their fee that they charge for being the non-biased party to manage this closing and handle all of the closing documents, your title search and filing fees, any prorated taxes. They're usually prorated from the date of closing to the end of the year, and the seller is responsible for the taxes from the first of the year to the date of closing. So you split it in half and you end up crediting each other. So when you are actually being explained what's going on the settlement statement, they're going to say, well, you credited the seller this and the seller credited you this, and it all evens out in the wash. You're also looking at being responsible for the lender's title policy. Title policies are something we'll get into in another video, so stay tuned for that. In addition to all of that, you also will have transaction fees, more than likely from the brokerage of your realtor. Usually that's something that the realtor's not able to do anything about. And it's just a given, and it helps for all of the technology fees and the storage fees, and it could go anywhere from $100, and I've seen them as high as $1,000. So those are important questions to ask when you're interviewing your realtor. What are your what are your transaction fees? So all of those things, in addition to your down payment amount, usually comes out to about 2 to 4% on top of your down payment amount. So if you're using FHA with 3.5%, I tend to recommend people have at least 6% in their pocket. Sometimes your lender's going to want to see that you have at least 2 months worth of mortgage payments in your savings account, so they know you're going to make your first 2 mortgage payments at least. Sometimes, not all of them do, but just be prepared. For closing costs for a seller, traditionally the seller pays the commission, which is usually 6%, but it is a negotiable term. And so 6% split between the buyer's agent and the listing agent, and it all is going to cover the commissions. You also have settlement fees from the title company as well. And traditionally in Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie County, the seller chooses the title company who manages the closing. Again, that's a non-biased company who's going to handle all the closing paperwork, hold the escrow funds, and they're representing the transaction, not buyer or seller. So, but the seller chooses them, and then also is in charge of paying for the owner's title policy. Some counties like Miami, the buyer pays for the owner's title policy. There's also transaction fees for the seller as well from the brokerage of the realtor that they're using. And then also taxes and filing fees, usually prorated, your deed recording, your doc stamp, so on and so forth. So those are some of the fees in addition to the fees that both buyer and seller have, which are usually wire fees. So the fees that it costs to transfer your money back and forth to each account. That's something that is included in your closing costs that both buyer and seller have. Any escrow fees. The buyer also has appraisal fees and however much it costs for your inspection. Those come out of pocket. And that's a quick little breakdown of the closing costs for both buyer and seller. And there are just a few extra costs that associate with buying, selling, closing on a property. It's important to know these costs ahead of time, and that way you can make sure you save the appropriate amount of money or at least be in the ballpark. Once you go under contract, it is perfectly okay, and at Gold Pineapple Homes, 100% standard that we request a net sheet for both buyer or seller, whoever we're working for. So that way, right when we have the contract, there's an estimate of what it is you're going to be spending. Sometimes the title company does it automatically. Sometimes you got to ask for it. And so we, at the Gold Pineapple Homes, we ask for it on your behalf. So that way you're prepared right off the get-go. Nobody wants to be surprised by unexpected closing costs and end up missing out on the perfect property. So this way you're prepared, you have the cash to close, and you are getting ready to move into your dream home. So when you're ready to go look for it, give me a call. My phone number is 561-316-7323, and I look forward to working for you. Thanks so much. This is Elena Lee with Gold Pineapple Homes.